Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next The Reckoning of Roku chapter analysis video. This one's going to be for chapter 8, which is called To the Rest of Us. So just before we start, I'll again mention I do have YouTube channel membership available on the channel if you do want to help support the channel so I can continue to do long coverage, detailed coverage of the novels and other stuff when it comes out for Avatar. But that's just there if you want to help out. But let's get into the chapter here. It's a relatively short chapter. It's not the shortest chapter in the book, but it's one of those ones where it's more of moving the plot along. This is Roku sneaking out with Gyatso, basically the journey starting, in addition to it being the sort of like goodbye scene between Roku and Tom Min. Probably the main significant maybe character reveal here is that we do get introduced to Gyatso's bison in this chapter, which we will get to. So yeah, let's just get started going through this one. So yeah, immediately Roku is sneaking out. It's noted here, because they're among air nomads, there's no guards or anything like this. It's just you know, the air temple at night, but he's sneaking around. He knows where he has to go because he's basically aiming effectively for where all the sky bison are, because they're going to be using Gyatso's bison to actually leave on, of course. So pretty quickly we get the idea. Yeah, Roku is bringing Gyatso along. Gyatso kind of wants to go because he feels the success of gaining his airbending back is attached to sort of helping Roku in some way. So he's going to go to try and see what the deal is with that. And of course, they need a sky bison to get to a pretty remote fire island. And so this is where we get introduced to Lola, who is Gyatso's sky bison. So that is just, yeah, as you would expect, Lola. Lola the Sky Bison here. They do go into some interesting detail here about like the stuff that we know already, but they give some extra details here. At a young age, each air nomad bonded with a sky bison that would become their lifelong companion. As they learn to master airbending, they tame and train and deepen their relationships with their sky bison. It was said that the most strongly bonded pairs shared a spirit, sensing each other's emotions and anticipating each other's needs to such an extent that verbal and physical training cues became unnecessary. And we basically find out that because Gyatso is struggling with his airbending, Lola isn't really listening to him that much, so they're kind of going into this a little bit like, we're probably going to have a little bit of convincing to do here if we want Lola to bring us here. So this is where we get the dialogue between Roku and Gyatso about his airbending, which is that Gyatso says, "When I helped you, my airbending hasn't been that powerful in a long time. You're bound to get into more trouble on this trip, so I'll have more opportunities to tap into that energy to save you," because he feels like, saving the Avatar, that might be kind of maybe why how I can get my airbending connection back, or at least figure out how to do that. And Roku's like, oh, okay, maybe, I guess that's as good an option as any, because it's a bit of a mystery as to why it's happening. But yeah, will Lola actually listen to Gyatso? At this point, we do get introduced to, of course, Tom Min is here to see Roku off. They have a bit of a joke between Gyatso and Tom Min of just like, oh, is that the Avatar over there? You know, he's shorter than I expected. And Tom Min is like, and all that hair? Ugh. And it's just a joke at Roku's expense, of course. Roku asks, you know, are you sure you don't want to kind of come with us? But Tom Min is like, for political reasons, I don't think two Fire Nationals should go here, just in case. Also, I need to report back to Sozin, basically. He might not like it if I get involved in things as well. Roku does say, you sound like you're afraid of him. She says, he may be your closest friend, but to the rest of us, he's the future Fire Lord. So that's the title drop right there, which is an interesting one, because I wouldn't say they particularly focus on this little section of the chapter, but it's kind of a particularly notable one to, I suppose, frame the whole idea of like, oh yeah, Roku is probably the only one who really gets away maybe with like not being perfect, on point in a way around Sozin. To everyone else, it's like, what if I ruin my relationship with the future Fire Lord? Whereas because Roku has always been a close friend of Sozin and now is the Avatar, he's kind of the one who doesn't need to worry about it. So it is about the rest of us have a bit of a struggle with our dealings with Sozin type thing. So yeah, they arrived there. They're among all the bison, and Roku's like, okay, which one of them is Lola? And Gyatso points her out, of course. There's no obvious thing where like this Lola, the Sky Bison, looks particularly different than other ones. It's just like, hey, come over here. She's asleep and is not really wanting to get up. Gyatso says she usually takes a few minutes to get going, but they do need to put the Sky Bison's saddle on her back, and they kind of realize like, oh, this is going to be tough, because usually the air nomads just airbend the saddle onto the back, but it's a really heavy thing to try and lift on their own, and they don't want to just drop it on her while she's asleep. So they're like, what do we do here? She's probably not maybe going to listen to you right now, Gyatso, so what are we going to do here? Roku comes up with the solution here, and he's like, Lola treats, and he takes out some fruit, basically, and Gyatso notes that this is bribery, like what you've just done here. But he does get Lola to kind of wake up, to come over, and so they can just, like, I suppose, safely, properly put the saddle onto Lola. And then we get to the goodbye scene. So Ta-Min says, you know, I'm glad I was able to see you again. And that we finally got a chance to really get to know each other. She does kind of hug him here. And Roku says, I am too. I only wish I had the nerve to speak to you back home. She says, the past is the past. We have the future. I hope so. And he apologizes for nearly getting the two of them killed. And she just says, maybe next time I'll go on the mission with you. So maybe that might be a setup for book 2, potentially, of like a mission where like Ta-Min actually goes with them, because again, remember, she is a firebender. We have not maybe got a sense for just how skilled she is, but the fact that she reacted just as quickly as Roku did to shoot the fire up when they fell into the kind of trap hole kind of speaks to the idea of she might not be an absolute like master firebender, but like she, I guess, practices at least. So that's an interesting detail. So yeah, we get the goodbye scene. We get the final details of like, okay, you have Prince Sozin's map, and she's like, do you want me to go over how to read it one more time? And he's like, no need, my mind is like an armadillo bear trap. But this ends up being a joke that like he doesn't actually maybe properly remember the details as much as he needs to. And so yeah, the final goodbye is, I'll see you soon, not soon enough. And Gyatso says, gross, and yip yip, and they do fly away. So the mission has begun. They're on their way to the island, of course, and we will pick this up, of course, as they pretty much arrive here. So we'll cut back over to Sozin for the next chapter, and then I think we'll get our other point of view character shortly after that. So the book kind of really kicks into gear at this point in terms of like a lot of the details really beginning to come out. But for the most part, like I said, there's not too much to focus on in this chapter. I think it's cool that they do go over, once again, the real significance of the connection between Air Nomad and Sky Bison, and how Gyatso's problems connecting to his airbending is also impacting his connection to Lola. I actually think that's a cool little connection, that in the same way that there's the benefit from having the super positive relationship about all this stuff, having their airbending be in tandem, the reverse is also true to a certain degree. So Gyatso fixing his problem is also going to help kind of his relationship with Lola as well. So there's multiple reasons to fix Gyatso's airbending on this mission. And it also, well, there's your reason for why Gyatso wants to go, is because he was able to airbend while saving Roku, and he thinks that might come up again. But we also know Daisha has been pairing the two of them up for whatever reason. So is it because she senses that the two might, be good, like Gyatso might make a good Avatar companion, or is there a connection between the two of them that she knows about and wants them to kind of get to on their own? That's an interesting detail. Otherwise, you know, the goodbye scene with Tommen, it's clear that over the couple of days here, the chemistry is quite good, and that kind of, if things were different, they might have started a relationship here, but the timing is maybe not quite there at the moment. But still, given that this is effectively Tommen's last kind of real scene in the book, it was a good run of chapters, I think, to take her from being a character we didn't know too much about to actually she's a pretty fun and cool character who I would like to get more details on going forward, definitely. But like I said, it's mainly the plot kicking into gear here. So in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on the events of this chapter. But that has been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.